All right, guys, welcome to In His Presence, the podcast where we dive deeper into God's words and discover how it shapes our daily lives. So today we are unpacking something very, 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 very powerful, and I target it mustard seed faith. But quick, I want to ask a quick question, like I usually do. What if the little faith you have is already enough? What if the little faith you have is already enough? Actually how I haven't got to let me do some uncovering. What brought me here, to this particular topic. Most of the time I'm always like my devotion, daily devotion and all that. But this particular topic, and one day I was on X, Twitter, I was scrolling and then I saw, someone was talking about, when Jesus said, if you could have faith, even as small as a mustard seed. And he was talking about it and not just being the size, he wasn't just talking about the mustard seed in, because of its size, or saying if you have tiny faith. But he was just talking about the potential, he was trying to make us understand that when Jesus was talking about the mustard seed, he wasn't just talking about he wasn't just mentioning the mustard seed because it was small. Rather, he was mentioning it because it had, potential to grow into something very, very massive. Quite frankly, the mustard seed grows into one of the biggest plants, one of the biggest plants. So, now let's actually find out. Yeah. So, faith like a mustard seed, like I said, that's why I tagged it. So, today we are looking at faith like a mustard seed. So, have you ever actually, paused to think about what Jesus really meant when he was saying, if you have faith like a mustard seed? I just actually emphasize on that. So we often hear the quotes, quoted, people just say this, that. But like I said, it wasn't just a metaphor. It was not just a metaphor. So let's go deeper. Luke chapter 17 verse 6 says, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it will obey you. But then when I think about it, there are other scenarios where Jesus mentioned, the size of faith. Okay, take for instance, I remember when Peter walked on water and then he started to sink. What Jesus said was, ye of little faith. But I mean, mustard seed's faith is little. So why is he saying if you have faith like a mustard seed, you can literally tell a tree to be uprooted and be planted in the sea? There's even another one that says you can, move mountains. You can tell this mountain to be uprooted and planted into the sea. But then he called Peter's faith little faith, and that's not the only time. There are other scenarios where he talked about it and all of that. So that's why I was like saying, Jesus wasn't just emphasizing on how small your faith can stay, or he was saying your faith, even no matter how tiny the faith is, it can actually do a lot of things. He was actually emphasizing, he was actually showing what even the smallest real faith could do. So mustard seed faith, like I said, it's not about the size, it's about potential. The mustard seed isn't, you see, one thing about the mustard seed is that it is not praised because it stays small. It is because it has the capacity to grow. It is not praised because it stays small. It's praised because it has the capacity to grow to one of the biggest plants, like I said earlier. So just like our faith, our faith must be planted, activated, and must also be lived out for it to grow and for us to see the maximum potential of that faith. It must be planted, faith like the seed must be planted, it must be activated and also lived out. James chapter 2 verse 26, we all know it said, for faith without works is dead. So definitely if you just have faith and you do nothing about the faith, then you're just basically having nothing. Yeah. So even if your faith feels small, plant it, speak with it, obey it, move with it, walk with it. Trust me, you will literally move mountains. Yeah. So truly, faith with actions is more powerful than loud faith. Okay, tiny faith with action is more powerful than loud faith with none. Yeah, if tiny faith with actions, that is, if you put your faith to work, it is even more powerful than having very, very loud faith. I'm faith, I've got faith, and you are not making use of that faith, So Jesus, and also, like I mentioned, Jesus recognized different levels of faith, He mentioned different levels of faith. He said, so meaning like all faith definitely isn't the same thing, like I mentioned earlier, I said you have little faith. Also when one of the, I think one of those Roman soldiers, a soldier, right, it was one of those Romans, when they had a sick son and he came to meet Jesus, and Jesus was like, okay, let's go to your home. And then he told Jesus that no, that if you just speak, that he believes. And then Jesus was like, that he has not found such great faith, that no one in the whole of Israel. So there he was emphasizing about great faith, after talking about little faith. Even to an extent, I think he said they had no faith, that is no faith. So that is little faith, great, that is no faith, little faith, and great faith. Yeah. So he's just trying to show that there are definitely different categories of faith. But then in Luke 17 verse 6, like that I read earlier, I said, it made it clear that even mustard seed faith can command miracles, that even the tiniest of faiths can definitely command miracles. So it's not about how massive your faith is. It is about what you do with that faith. It is about what you do with that faith. It's about what you do with that faith. So, don't despise your starting point. Faith strength is shown in use and not in size. Yeah, I think I wrote that down. Faith strength is shown in use and not in size. It is not about how massive your faith is. It's not about, what you say. It is about what you actually do. Faith without works is dead. So it is works that makes your faith, that makes your faith approved. Yeah, it is works that make your faith approved. So, one thing about the seeds, that seeds must be sown to the ground for them to grow. Yeah, if you leave a seed there, like a mustard seed on the shelf, nothing changes if you just leave it. But you need to, grow it. You need to water it daily. You need to, let its sunlight hit it for it to grow, for it to sprout out and then become something big, for it to be productive, for it to reproduce. Yeah. So when it is buried, it transforms. The root spreads, growth begins. When it is buried and planted properly, and so it's just like your faith too. Your faith must be put to work. Your faith must be put to work. I remember 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7 says, "We walk by faith and not by sight." That is, we have to do everything we do. We should do it with faith. We should do it with faith. The more we walk with faith, the more we get convinced about faith, the more we grow in our faith. So that's why you have to walk, and you have to act, you have to risk, you have to believe in faith. So faith must be buried in trust before it blooms into results. If you do not bury your faith in trust, and if you do not, if you don't walk with the faith for it to bloom, there was something, you see, something that, he said, they said, what they said was, faith. There's something faith accompanies all the time. Yeah, we've established that faith works, but then there's also another thing, patience. It takes patience for your faith to definitely grow. It takes patience over time. That's also one thing about a plant. You do not plant a plant today and expect it to start growing tomorrow. No, it's not possible. It takes time, it takes work, it takes diligence, it takes patience over time. You keep on watching it, you keep on going to check it, keep on going to check it for it to grow and for it to grow. Yeah. So don't measure your faith by feelings, measure it by actions. That was something I also wrote down. I just want to advise you, just wherever, just don't measure your faith by feelings. Like I feel like, yeah, this is possible. Measure it by actions. When you have faith, you should be prompted to move. What should follow is your actions. You should move and act according to your faith. So this is a little advice of God, for you. Like if you've got even the mustard seed of trust in God, start using it today. Put it to work. Speak what He said. do what he asks, because that seed, it doesn't stay small, it becomes unstoppable. Yeah, it actually becomes unstoppable. Like if you've got, I'll say it again, if you've got even a tiny bit of faith, as tiny as a mustard seed, of trust in God, start using it today. Put it to work, and the more you put it to work, the more God uncovers himself to you, the more faith grows, the more trust grows, the more you learn to become even more patient in times of adversities, and you just believe that I am grounded in God. I am grounded in Christ, and nothing can go wrong because I believe. So faith brings patience. When you put it to work, speak what he said, do what he asks you to do, because that's little faith, that tiny seed of faith doesn't just stay small, it becomes unstoppable. It becomes massive. So when Jesus was talking about if you could have faith as tiny as a mustard seed, I just wanted to ensure that it was established that when he was talking about you having faith as tiny as a mustard seed, he wasn't just talking about having small faith. Like even if your faith is small, you can do this. Even the littlest faith put to work can do a lot of miracles, but the littlest faith put to work can actually command miracles. But what he was trying to say there, or what it's the full picture, the full picture of that thing is that faith as tiny as mustard seed can move mountains, because it has potential to grow and overcome the heights or the size of whatever mountain you put in front of it. That is faith. But all of this takes action, it takes works, it takes patience. It takes patience. So really we've come to the end of this. Wow, I am so happy that I'm able to record the episodes to be quite short. I remember the very first one was almost 30 minutes. Alright, so thank you so much for joining me today in his presence. Remember, faith isn't about how big it looks. It's about planting what you have and letting God grow it. So if this blessed you, please share it with someone, and let's keep walking by faith together. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.